With us right now is the Wall Street Journal's Jerry Seib. We're going to talk about the backdrop of the economy, but Jerry's got a great book out right now where he talks about this populist wave that I guess still exists. Jerry, we should have seen it coming. That's the book. It's out now. Quite the popular book at that. Jerry, there's a difference between populist talk and, of course, economic results. The president likes to think he has delivered both, and that's his 1-2 punch of this election year, something that obviously Joe Biden wants to dismantle maybe in his remarks a few minutes from now. Your thoughts?
Well, look, there is a different mood in the country now than there was 20 years ago, certainly 40 years ago, when Ronald Reagan arrived with a much more conventional conservative economic prescription. I think one of the things that happened, and one of the things I came to realize more deeply in doing the book, was that over time, a lot of working class Americans moved into the Republican Party for cultural reasons. And then once arriving there, they weren't entirely satisfied with the economic prescription. Globalism, free trade, basically embracing immigration is good for the economy. And that sort of moved up from the grassroots. And that's true actually in both parties. You see some of these strains in the Occupy Wall Street movement of a decade or so ago and in the Bernie Sanders movement. So there's a kind of a populist mood in the country, anti-establishment, and questioning things like globalism and free trade in a way that didn't exist 10 years ago. If you want to know why Donald Trump is here and why you just saw him in the White House, that's as good a reason as any.
A lot of people say if he were to lose, Jerry, the Republican Party will be doing some soul searching, wanting to know what it's going to be about. We're nowhere near that point, obviously, but he's not your typical Republican, and he's not following typical Republican fare, conservative fare. And maybe that amalgam is what goes forward. What do you think?
I do think that's what, whenever the Trump era ends, and whether that's this November or 4 years from this November, that's going to be the quest for the conservative movement in the Republican Party. I don't think you can put Trumpism back into a bottle per se, but how do you marry some of those populist nationalist impulses with a more traditional Republican conservative message? And interestingly, there are a whole bunch of younger, smart conservatives out there trying to figure out how to do exactly that right now. Marco Rubio and Josh Hawley in the Senate are two of them within Congress who are trying to do that. And one of the things they talk about is how do you get away from libertarian economics and have an economic policy that actually gives more government help to working class Americans. There are conservatives who now talk about how do you construct an industrial policy. And Neil, as you and I both know, those were fighting words for conservatives for a long time. But you have conservatives now saying the government should actually be intervening in the marketplace to help manufacturing industries. That's too important for the country. It's too important for communities and the culture we're trying to protect to just let it go. So I think you're going to have a search for a kind of post-Trump conservative message that doesn't just ditch Trumpism, but tries to marry it with a more conventional economic message and see if those two things can actually be brought together.
Would a late sell-off in the markets, if this gains steam, Jerry, and I'm not making a big deal out of 2 days of this, we've been through this before and markets have rebounded. Certainly look at the March experience. But if this has more traction to it, and the president is fond of always quoting these markets, then what?
Well, look, you and I, Neil, have talked about this over the years. If you're a politician, you can live by the stock market, but you'll also die by the stock market. And I think the concern in the administration probably has to be the second wave consequences of the coronavirus dip. There's all this talk about a V-shaped recovery, but there's also the reality that a lot of things that were temporary layoffs are turning into permanent job losses, just to cite one example. And you're going to have businesses that can't survive the end of government assistance. And we haven't seen that wave yet. And I got to believe that you're seeing the markets now trying to sort of get their brains around that. And frankly, there's a little bit of me that's surprised that hasn't happened before because, there's a bit of a sugar high with $2.7 trillion of government assistance, plus what the Fed has done on top of that, that's kept things afloat and has sustained the economy to some extent, but even more so the markets. At some point, that goes away, and then reality hits. And I think there's going to be a bit of that in the next few weeks. How far that goes, I don't know, because there are also some good signs in there. But there's a post-COVID reality here that I think we haven't seen the full effects of it yet.
I think you're right about that. Jerry, thank you very, very much. Jerry Seib, the book is We Should Have Seen It Coming.